Hi, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my knitting podcast. If you're new here, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway, and here we talk about all things knitting. We talk about yarn, we talk about finished projects, we talk about active projects, we talk about knitting plans, all things knitting, everything that comes to mind. But before we get into the regular scheduling today, I just want to say that Eweknit is running a knit along right now, the Violeta knit along for the Violeta sweater, and they've been so kind as to give me a code for 50% off for that pattern. I'll link that in the description. So if you want to join me and many others in knitting up the Violeta, just use that code to get 50% off the pattern. And remember to create the project on Ravelry, because that's how you join this call, and you can enter into giveaways and everything, but you have to create the project on Ravelry. I haven't gotten around to starting it because I can't figure out what yarn or color I want this in, but I'm super excited about it because after I knit up the Moby Sweater, I'm really excited and in the market for doing more cables, and cables mixed with like the lace detailing in the front. I think that's super pretty, and I think you would be able to see projects progress very quickly because there's always something new happening, so it would be very motivating to work on also. So I'm quite excited about it. I just need to figure out what to knit it in and then start. But this knit along, I didn't say, it started November 17th, so it's already started, but it runs all the way until the end of January. So there's still loads of time to join in, even if you don't have the time now right before Christmas with Christmas gifts and Christmas knitting, or if you just have other Christmas things going on, you can still join because it goes all the way until the end of January. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with y'all. If you want to join a knit along, I think knit alongs are great if you want to do the pattern just for like the camaraderie and community of doing a knit along. So I just wanted to share that with you. But that said, we can get into more of our regular scheduling, and I'm super excited to share with you what I'm wearing because I'm finally able to wear my Never sweater. This is my first time wearing it, and I'm in love with the fit of this. This is a test knit for KopiKali, and I love this sweater. It's just finished drying. The neckline is still a bit damp because that's folded down, so it's double the amount of thickness, so it takes a bit longer to dry, but the rest of it is finally dried. Too excited to remember what I was going to say. But yeah, I have test knitted this. I've made a few modifications, not anything major since I'm test knitting and supposed to test knit the pattern. I've just shortened a few things. I shortened the body quite a bit because I wanted it to stop kind of at my hip before doing the ribbing, so I did that. So that's a bit shorter just for a bit better fit for me personally, but I didn't do anything to the pattern. I just stopped a bit before. Same with the sleeves. As you can see, they are quite long on me. They go past my knuckles, but I didn't want them to like go past my fingers or anything. I think like this, when I have my arm straight down, this is about how much it covers, and I think that's very comfortable. I like to be able to like cover my hands, but I don't want them to be covered completely or have like a flap like this when moving around, personally. So I just made that modification for myself personally, just tried it on and kind of tried to see where it would hit me and where I would have to do the ribbing, but that's the modification I made. I just knit a bit less, and also I did decide to do a split hem on the body, just because I think split hems when it's this oversized, because the Never sweater is very, very oversized. As you can see, it's like double my width, so it's super oversized, and I love that. But for oversized sweaters, I really prefer for the body to have a split hem. I just think that looks a lot better when you get to the hip that it splits. So I decided to do that as well, but these are all just personal preferences that don't really alter the pattern at all. I just did things. I just knit a bit less and then split the hem, like it's no big deal. But yeah, I knit this in drops lima in the color Orchid, and once again I just have to say I'm super happy I chose to go a bit outside my comfort zone, because this in like lilac color is absolutely everything. It's exactly how it should be, and I'm so glad it ended up this way. And I was right, this is like a blanket to wear, and it's going to be great for winter. Even sitting here now recording this, I'm getting a bit hot, and that usually never happens. I'm either it's either a perfect temperature or a bit cold, but now this is a bit warm, so this is going to be great for winter. It's big and chunky and cozy, it's warm, it's just everything I could have wanted for a sweater in winter, and it looks super cute. I also did Italian bind off, just because I think that's a really cute way to bind off. And then yeah, I've just been in love with this sweater since finishing it, just waiting for it to dry. So I really recommend this. I was super on the fence about if I was going to like this, because it is such a large amount of positive ease, and I usually never knit. I am more attracted towards like just a bit of positive ease, or honestly like negative ease. I quite like that. So I was on the fence about this being my style, but it absolutely is. I love it. And also the way the raglan is done on this with 6 stitches, and since it is so wide, it also kind of shapes the sweater so it goes down in front here, so you get a bit of shaping on your upper body, even though it is so large, because most of the large part of the material goes under the arms, and it just gives the sweater a really nice look and feel when wearing it. And also a really nice thing about it being in lilac, even though it isn't in a very deep dark lilac, is that this kind of reminds me of Advent with lilac and everything. So it's going to be a really nice sweater to wear in this month, in December as well. Just, it's going to be my Advent sweater, even though it isn't like a dark purple. But yeah, I'm super excited about this sweater, and you'll probably see me wearing it loads more because it is super comfortable. I'm wearing it next to skin right now, and that's super hot. And also, if you're wondering about drops lima and how it feels next to skin, for me it's super comfortable, and this is my first time wearing it as well. It will only get more comfortable, because I feel like all the tiny bits of scratchiness I can feel now kind of gets worn out if you continue using them, kind of like Peer Gynt. So I would just super recommend using drops lima for any projects where you're knitting something with a gauge like this, because it's super affordable, has great colors and feels amazing, and also it's a mix of wool and alpaca, so it's a super warm yarn as well. So that's my recommendation, and me raving about how much I like this sweater. But and yeah, this is also one of my finished knits this week, of course. But before we get into more of that, I think we can move into my active projects. And this week they're all new, so that's quite nice. First up we have this. You can't really see what it is because of where it's at right now, but this is a baby bear bonnet. You can see the ears just barely here. I just haven't gotten to do anything about them. But this is the baby bear bonnet. Oh, I can't quite remember what the yarn is called, but it is this very pretty like yellow speckled yarn with some pops of color. And this was a scrap from another project I made. I'll show that with my finished project. And I weighed this and it was 25 grams, and I thought that that was going to be enough for the smallest size of the baby bear bonnet. And I don't know what it is about my math lately, but it's just not mathing, and this is how much yarn I have left, and I have like the whole back of the head left to do and the I-cord around, so it's just not enough yarn. So I'm kind of torn in between either ripping this back and then figuring out what to do with this yarn. It's I know it's 200 meters per 100 grams and I have 25 grams, so what can you even do with those 25 grams if you can't even make a bonnet in the size 1 month? But also, let me just grab something. Also, I have this scrap from when I made my hipster hat, and they don't 100% match, but maybe this can just be like a scrap bonnet. Tell me what you think. Is it too big of a clash? Because this is quite muted and this is not, but it has pops of color. Would they go together? And it kind of wouldn't be visible from the front because it would just be on that part at the back, but it would also be the string, so it would be a bit visible. But it would also be nice to eliminate this from my stash after my hipster hat. Just trying to get rid of some of my scraps, because even though I'm trying to get through my yarn stash, my scrap stash is just growing. But let me know what you think. If not, what can these two scraps be made into? I think this is about 30 grams and they're about the same thickness. So if either tell me if you think they go well together, and if they don't, what can I do with it? So that's a whip, but since I'm so unsure, I kind of paused it last night just because I wanted to ask all of you what you thought, because I could not come to a decision, and asking my fiance didn't really help because he just answers what he thinks I want to hear. But yeah, please tell me if you think this would clash too much. I think kind of it might, but I don't know. So since I had to like pause that, I was also knitting on something else, but I finished that, and then I wanted to wash the thing I finished last night so I could show it here, so I had to wait until the washing machine was done. So I cast on something else while I was waiting late last night. And this is something I have been wanting to start on for quite some time, but I've just been busy with all of my other projects that kind of had a deadline. But this is looking quite boring right now, but this is going to be balaclava or a hoodie or something. I quite wanted to be more like a hoodie than a balaclava, but I wanted to be quite close to a balaclava as well. But I want to be able to wear like a hat underneath. But this is in drops alpaca and drops puna, so 2 strands of 100% alpaca yarn. So this is going to be incredibly hot, warm. This is in beige and this is in peanut, and they work together very nicely. I'm knitting on 4.5 millimeters and I'm not following a pattern, which might be a mistake. But balaclavas are not, they're not like super intricate. You knit this straight flap and then you knit the sides and then you connect, and I just have to figure out a bit how I want it to be, but also I have a head so I can just measure it. But I'm really excited to see and nervous to see if it turns out how I want it. I haven't really been able to do a lot at all. I just did that flap that I'm a bit worried is too short, and then I've started on the sides and I've done like 3 rounds. So this is a really exciting project just because it can go both ways. But I think if I was able to make it, I got a needle in my eye. If I was able to make it like not skin tight but a bit like looser, I think a hoodie in this would be super just pretty, and also a really nice accessory to have in the winter, just to pull on over your hat or anything if you're not wanting to wear a hat. Just having a hoodie, I think that would be really nice, and I've been really excited to start working on this, both for the project but also because I was really excited to see how the yarns were to pair up. And I think the fabric that it's made is super pretty, and as you can see it is quite thick. Even if I pull on it you can't really see through it. Yeah, it's, and 4.5 millimeters is working up quite quickly, and these are also scraps from old projects. So it's just nice, or I don't know if you can call it scraps because I have quite a few skeins of each of them, but not enough skeins to know what to do. But yeah, this is a super exciting project for me. So hopefully next time I'm here I can show you a really pretty hoodie. But yeah, that's that's this for now. So my current whips are actually 2 very small whips, and both of them are accessories for the head. But it's nice to have a couple of these small whips after a long time with quite large whips and quite large projects, even if the whips in themselves were small, like the project as a large was large. But speaking about that, I think we can move into my finished project, and the first 2 finished projects I'm going to talk about are not here because I've sent them, and that's the Monday balaclava. I'll show a picture I took of them before I sent them, and they're sent because I have finally finished the twin gift knit, and the twins are here, and yeah, they've gotten their knits now, so I'm just super excited both about being finished and not having that like hanging over me, how much I'm going to be able to knit before they get here, and just kind of thinking about the twin gift all the time because I knit on that for close to 6 months, I think. I started this summer and I just finished now. And I'm also super excited to have given them their knits because I love knitting for babies, and yeah, since they're in my family as well, it was a bit more special than it usually is, and since they're twins. But yeah, I'm just super excited in all ways to be done with this twin knitting gift. But let's get back to the Monday balaclavas. These, I knew these were going to be the last thing I did before sending it. And I knew I had kind of a short time to finish them before sending them because the twins were already here when I was working on these. But yeah, I did them in the color light grey and sage green, and I did them in the size 1 to 3 months. which is the smallest size in the Monday Balaclava, and they are going to be winter babies, so I thought that was a nice size to do them in. And yeah, I just followed the pattern. Exactly did the first time I cast on the first Monday Balaclava, I actually read wrong in the pattern. When reading how many stitches to cast on, I instead read how many rounds to do with the stitches cast on. So I cast on way too few stitches, but I realized my mistake, frog back, did it right, and from there on it was smooth sailing. I did the sage green one first, and for me, I've noticed doing these twin knits that the first one is almost more a pain in the ass than the second one, because when doing a second one for twins, you can just count, and I think I've realized that my problem when I think knitting is kind of boring or a drag or challenging or anything is when I have to measure and constantly like think about how long to knit before I'm finished. Same with two sleeves. The first one where I have to think about how long I want it and everything is so stressful, but the other one where I just count my rows to make it exactly the same just flies by. So I guess I realized that the worst thing for me about knitting is to measure and think about how long you want things and doing things the first time. I was super worried going into this twin knit that knitting the same thing over and over again and always doing two of everything was going to be like hell, but it really wasn't. I have enjoyed that immensely, to be honest. Just really nice to not have to think at all really when doing the second knit, because you've already done one, and if you do it right after each other you can just kind of bang it out because you remember your stitches, you remember the increases, you remember the amount of rows you did before doing something. So that's just been great. But I think one thing that helped me is that I didn't do anything in the same color. All of the knits, even though they were the same pattern, I never did them in the same color. I did like sage green, light grey, ice blue, petroleum. I always had different colors. So I think that helped, because then it didn't feel quite as much like just doing the same thing one more time. And also I am a person that like knits up the same pattern multiple times, so I already know that about myself, that I find the pattern I like and then I do it 100 times. For example, with the baby bear bonnet, I do that a lot, but I didn't think I was going to enjoy doing them right after each other as much as I have been enjoying it, because usually I space out my projects a lot more, but I have really enjoyed that. So if you are someone who enjoys repeating patterns, or maybe don't enjoy as much like figuring out the length of things and always measuring, I would encourage you to just knit the same thing in the same size multiple times, because then you don't have to measure, you can just count. And apparently I like counting more than measuring. So, but those are the Monday Balaclavas. I forgot to weigh them before sending them, but for one of the Balaclavas I used a whole skein of Drops Baby Merino, so I could weigh what was left of the skein, and I had 10 grams left of that skein, so I think there were about 40 grams each. So that's under a skein of pretty much any thin merino wool if you want to make the smallest size in a Monday Balaclava. And I do recommend it because it is quite a fun project, and it also is a great balaclava. The Monday Balaclava, even though it is quite thin and we live in a very cold climate, is one of the balaclavas we use the most, because we use it the whole year. We use it in the summer alone, and then we layer it in the winter. So I really recommend the Monday Balaclava. But yeah, those, I don't think there's much more to say about them. But yeah, the twin gift knit is done, and I did record a video all about that, like a special podcast episode all about that. That's coming a bit later if you're interested. And also you can head over to my Instagram if you're interested in a closer look at the twin gift knit, because I have a reel where I show every piece there as well. And just in general, I post a bit more like details about my knits on Instagram. So if you're interested, follow me there. But moving into the next finished piece, and that's this ribbed neck for my son. I think it's called Enkel Ribb Hals by Jord.Clothing in Norwegian. I don't know if the pattern is in English, but like directly translated, Enkel Ribb Hals is easy ribbed neck. I don't know if that's right, but it is just a very easy ribbed neck. You start from the top up here, and I decided to do tubular cast on, Italian cast on, just because I think that's like the extra finish I really like. And then you do like a turtleneck amount of centimeters for the neck part, and then you do some increases here for the shoulder, so it kind of lays flat on the shoulder here, and then you start working the front and back panel, and when those are done you pick up stitches all around and finish, and the front and back panel are 2 by 2, and then the turtleneck and the finishing is 1 by 1 ribbing. And yeah, this is just, as the pattern name says, it is a very easy pattern. It goes by really quickly. I started on this one morning and then I finished the same night, and it was just an easy project to have. We have been a bit sick this week. I don't know if you can hear in my voice, but we are still having a bit of a cold. I'm much better now, but I was very much under the weather, so just having like a really nice easy project, you don't really have to think about it all, because it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth in the ribbing, was really nice. And also I got to make my son a neck warmer, maybe that's the word, in just a day. And also I got to use this really pretty yarn. Here is the yarn. This is the finished project that I have the scrap for my baby bear bonnet from, and I've just been super excited and obsessed lately with using all of this like hand-dyed yarn or yarn with speckles. It's just been super exciting and really fun to also work with like one skein amount of yarn, because then you kind of have to think a bit more about what patterns you choose. But yeah, this is just, maybe it's called simple ribbed neck. It's by Jord.Clothing at least, so maybe you can check it out on their website if they have it. But yeah, then it also needs to get blocked, blocking out 2 by 2, because if you block it out it will cover a bit more of the chest and back. And also this neck is very tight, so it also needs to get blocked out so it doesn't like strangle him. But yeah, I also cast off with tubular here. Obsessed with tubular. So it needs to have its ends weaved in, but then it will be all done and he can start using it. And that was my third finished. This is the fourth. And then what I finished late last night. This is a part of the twin gift, but I didn't get the yarn because I ran out of yarn. If you saw any of the last podcast, you know I ran out of yarn for this mini Augustins #1, so I didn't get to finish it in time to send it with the rest. But I got the yarn and now it's finished, and I did contemplate not finishing and washing it last night because it was getting quite late, but I'm quite certain that this will be sent by the time I podcast next, and I just really wanted you to be able to see the drape it has when it's finished. I don't know if you can remember me working on it and showing you, but I can like show you what it looked like right before I threw it in the washing machine. And as you can see, it's very wrinkly, and of course there the noise cut out. Technical difficulties, but I'm here in the evening to just kind of remember what I was talking about. But I was talking about the blocking of this blanket, and as you can see, it is really wrinkly before blocking. It is a lot smaller. It is like the size of my upper torso, and you can't really see the structure very well. But yeah, I chucked that in the washing machine and washed it, and about 1 hour later I blocked it out, and I tried to get some footage of that as well. I don't know if it was good footage, but I'm just, when blocking this blanket, I'm moving the needles out, and then I usually have to go back to the needles before to just even it out, because I want it to form like a perfect circle when I'm done. So that usually takes me half an hour just moving needles back and forth, and it usually quite hurts my fingers well dealing with those tiny needles because I don't have proper blocking equipment. I have one of the mats my son used when he was a newborn, and then some needles I have with my sewing machine over here, which you can see it's not frequently used, but it kind of, as you can see, I kind of get a blemish on my finger from doing it, and always when I'm done, I hate the experience. I think this is not worth it. I'm not going to knit this blanket anymore. But then the next morning, when the blanket is dry and I pick it up and this is what I'm left with, I reconsider, and I think this is the best blanket I ever made. But yeah, just look at that lovely drape compared to what it looked like just hours ago, really, before it was blocked. That it's just crazy how much a simple blocking can do, and this is why you should block your knit, especially if it's lace. It's so important to block, because this really made a difference. Now you can really see the stitch definition and how all of the different structures look, and I love this blanket. It's a great blanket. I recommend knitting blankets in the round, and yeah, I'm very much in love with this blanket, and I just had to stay up late last night. Just I just had to stay up late last night just to finish this, just so I could show you this today, since I am probably going to ship it off. But yeah, I just wanted to show you it in all its blocked glory, and I think that was that. So yeah, that is the mini Augustins, and this is my very last twin gift knit, and that's going to be sent this week probably, and then I'm going to be done baby knitting, I think, for at least a little while. I still have some friends that are going to have babies in the new year, but I think my focus going forward is going to be more Christmas themed. But yeah, just I was so excited to show you what it looked like all blocked, so I just had to stay up last night to finish it to be able to show you. Now I've showed you all like the knitting things, what I am knitting on and what I knit last week, so I thought I could also show what I got last week. And the first thing is not like directly knitting, but it is something I use a lot in my knitting, and that is the bullet journal for knitters. This is this year's bullet journal. Here you can see like the month of November, and I write everything I work on and the yarn and how many grams, the dates I started, everything. And we are heading into the new year, and I have finally gotten my book for 2024. These are by Yndestrikk. It's not sponsored, not anything. I just love this. Also, they're just super pretty. This is going to be my 4th book. I'm trying to show them all. And I love these books. I use them quite a lot to look back in. I think my favorite to look back at is maybe the one from 2021, the year when I had my son, because then I can look at what I was making him when I was pregnant and kind of what I was thinking he was going to need when I was pregnant. And my favorite month to look in is July, because he was born in July, and you kind of draw how many hours you knit each day. And at the end of July I didn't knit anything because I had a newborn, so it's just fun to kind of see, look back at your years and see what you were knitting on and how much you were knitting and how different things affected you. Another really fun thing about the 2021 year is the month of November, because I finished quite a few different things all of the months, but the month of November I didn't finish anything because I was just working on his christening gown. So I can look back through this book and just remember everything I was doing, and I think it's really nice to just have those memories. And I can also go back through these books and kind of see what I was knitting on when I was pregnant, when he was so and so months old, my son. So I didn't have these books before I was pregnant, so a lot of my memories with them are either being pregnant or having a son. But when my friends have kids or something, I can look at what I liked at like that age for a baby and knit the same. And yeah, I use it a lot just to look back on. And I started last year as well, where I write up, let's see if I find it, where I write up all of the things I knit throughout the year. I started coloring all of the things that were scrap projects in yellow, so I could like quickly look through it and see like, oh, this is a scrap yarn project, I can do that if I want to use up my scrap yarn. So that's quite nice to be able to inspire yourself like that. And then also this year I haven't been that great at keeping up with it, but at least at the start of the year I did like different color codes. Blue for scrap yarn and then red for gifts. And then as you can see, it has been quite a few gifts knit this year, but I haven't color coded anything I made in the second part of the year yet. But yeah, just my recommendation if you like to nerd about your knitting, like to see how much you knit year to year, what yarn you chose most year to year, what you knit on in the different months year to year. Did you knit on summer knits in the summer or not? I really recommend these books. I love using them in the day-to-day knitting for the year I'm in, but I also really enjoy looking back on them. So if any of that resonates with you, I would really recommend getting a bullet journal, or if you journal online or anything. But I I don't know, when it comes to crafting, nothing is quite the same as journaling by hand. It just, for me, that's a different ball game. I would much rather journal by hand. It's easier for me also to remember, and I just prefer that. But another thing I got this week is I ordered the yarn for the mini Augustins. Here is all that's left. I'm glad I ordered 2 skeins because I used 1.5. I got yarn for some Christmas gifts I'm going to be making, and here are some of that yarn. Drops Air in color white, I think, maybe off-white, but I think white. And this is going to be a Louisiana sweater for my friend. I am knitting up quite large gifts, but what's most important to me when knitting up gifts is that I knit up something that's wanted. So if you come to me with a like specific want and something you really wish for, I can make that for you. I'd rather make a sweater I know you're going to wear than make you a hat you're not going to. So I'm doing Louisiana for my friend, and then my sister is going to get a Eva cardigan in this lima, this brown lima. It's almond. I really like the color almond, and I really like the Eva cardigan, so I'm super excited about that. My sister has really gotten a lot of knits this year. She got... Hi, I have to pop in to the video now as well. I realized when editing there was further technical difficulties with the sound. The sound fell out again, so I'm here to kind of try to remember what I said. But I know I talked about my sister and all the gift knits she's been getting from me this year, and it is because she has had one pretty large event in her life this year, but also so she is just really knit worthy. She uses knits a lot. She uses the knits I've made her a lot, like almost every time I see her, and the other times she uses knits my grandma or my mom or someone else has made for her. And since she comes from a family of knitters, she really understands the time that goes into and cost that goes into knitting. She's also a crocheter, so she understands from that side as well. And since she is like really integrated through family in the knitting community, she sees knitting patterns and has opinions on them and everything. So she has like really specific wishes and things she likes and things she doesn't. So it's really easy to knit for her as well, because she has preferences and knows what she likes and what she doesn't. So it's pretty easy to like know what to knit for her. And she's also vocal about what she likes and doesn't. Yeah, so she's getting... I'm sorry, my cold is really flaring up tonight. If there's lots of cuts, it's because I'm coughing, but yeah. She's getting a cardigan, and then those 2 gift knits are really my 2 like big ones, and then I am probably going to remember suddenly other things I want to do in the month leading up to Christmas, other people I want to gift knit for. But I am from a family where lots of people use like gloves or hats or socks, so I'm probably just going to be doing smaller projects if someone comes to mind. Using from my stash, trying to stash best. I am not going to hit what was my goal of being under 10 kilos before New Year, but I am trying to de-stash kind of as much as possible, at least before the New Year, and then I'm going to go through my stash and like set my intentions for it and everything in the New Year. But yeah, a lot of this could probably turn into Christmas gifts, depending on how much time I have. Let's see. Yeah, another thing is, I don't know if I can get the yarn out without everything falling out behind me. That's also a problem with my stash. It is very volatile right now. If I touch it, it might just topple over. And it did. But I really want to knit up a Christmas jumper for my son if I have the time. Not a typical like Christmas jumper with like antlers or Santa on it or anything, but something he can wear during Christmas that also is casual enough to wear the rest of the year and in day-to-day life, but also classy enough to like be more dressed up. And last year I knit him a sweater that I think fits perfectly. I'll show a picture of that. So I thought that this year I would just do the same, because that sweater is starting to get just a tiny bit small, and no time like the present. And I think it would look really nice in this color, and I think even though this is not a traditional Christmas color, I think like deep dark color, which this kind of is, would look really nice. And it's not like the one he had last year was a traditional Christmas color either, but hopefully if I have the time I'll be able to make him his Christmas jumper in this yarn. It's Drops Baby Merino in the color North Sea, I think. And that's kind of my one wish for something to make my son before Christmas, or kind of specifically for Christmas. So if I finish everything else, I would really like to do that. So my knitting plans now in the next week are going to be, I need to figure out what to do with that baby bear bonnet, and then I hopefully will manage to do a balaclava hoodie for myself. And then I'm going to start knitting Christmas gifts, which I'm super excited about. And then other than like the Christmas gifts and the currently active projects, I have this list to stick to. I have been showing another list quite a lot, this one, but this one was getting a bit old. Things weren't written in the order I would like to knit them in. I weren't knitting them in the order they were written in, and it was just a bit of mayhem on that list, and the whole reason for the list is to follow it and therefore for there to not be mayhem. So I did another one. Here also the Christmas gifts are incorporated, which they weren't in the other. So now I'm going to work on this list, and hopefully I will at least have started everything on this list by the new year. But yeah, I think that is everything for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, even with all the technical difficulties. If you did, please leave a like and a comment to let me know. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!